My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Cancers. I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. For this evening, I'm going to be doing your general love reading, your 5 card spread. But before I do that, I want to offer these 24 red roses as a token of my love and appreciation for your love, support, and devotion towards my channel. And thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful evening as well. So, this 5 card love reading includes how the first card represents you, the second, the other person, the third, the relationship, fourth, the past, fifth, the future. Then I'm going to draw a Vampire Oracle for you and a Favole of 1 card from the French Tarot deck of Le Tarot Interdit Vampiria. Let's get started with card number 1, and you get King of Swords. You're planning something. The thing is, the way how this King of Swords is mostly designed here is that this king, of course, if it doesn't represent you, but there's definitely patience and planning taking place, at least in today's love reading, starting with you. Because, it's like before you even head out towards any kind of like outcome, whether it's finding true love, whether it's actually, any kind of planning, is that you want to have a really good plans, and then, you'll have an increased chance that there's going to be a positive guarantee that comes from it and stuff like that, instead of just thinking, well, if only I would have actually waited more patiently and stuff like that. But I feel like that you're kind of just waiting for something. You're planning something. But of course, it's like we'll have to find out what you're planning. But either way, it just shows that you pretty much just think, okay, we're going to have to like maybe wait on something. Maybe we might need to be patient, because that's also sort of about like, because patience is also about establishing a really good plan and stuff like that as well. So, but either way, I just think that this is already a great step for you, because oh my goodness, who's the other person? 3 of Swords, one of the cards I pull for the vampire. So I feel like that you could be patiently waiting. Maybe this person, got his or her heart broken and stuff like that. But what I mostly see here is maybe you're in recovery mode yourself, and that's why you're kind of patiently also just kind of planning something. Because, let's say that, that whoever this person is, it could be an air sign, maybe an Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra person. But let's say that you did get your heart broken and stuff like that. I do see that you're mostly also trying to plan something while you're in recovery mode as well. Like, multitasking for that matter. But it could also be how this person also got his or her heart broken, and you're kind of waiting for the right time to approach that person as well. And I think, it's a really good plan to have, while you're patiently maybe waiting for this person to actually mend his or her broken heart and to decide on what this person wants to do. And the thing is, it's a heart. Any kind of broken heart is just so painful, trust me, I pulled the 3 of Swords, but any kind of like rejection, refusal, what have you, it's just pretty much just hurts. Like, I think I've come across so many humans that have really done all kinds of things, after any form of heartbreak and stuff like that, which I hope a lot of humans will always listen to and avoid in other ways as well. But I feel like that, when it comes to heartbreak, is to always heal and take your time and do whatever it takes, and not just feel like that there's a time frame or that you're rushing towards something. But I do see you sort of waiting for this person to kind of overcome some kind of heartbreak. So, but anyway, let's see what the relationship is or could be. Magician, I do see something manifesting, because while you're actually waiting, it's like healing is a form of also manifesting something in other ways as well. Because the thing is, it's like, let's say that you're the one who just got your heart broken, stuff like that. I do see you kind of just taking it easy, or just kind of maybe, healing from this. I mean, my goodness. I mean, what I don't understand about this is that blood transfusions are really important, right? But then when it comes to, like, how this card is designed, it just looks so incredibly painful. I don't know. But other than that, sorry, I just had to really just look at that, because I just think, my goodness, wow. But anyway, I do see something manifesting, it's like healing is like, your body and your mind are manifesting to recovery mode. But it could also be how you're strategizing despite this pain that you're probably currently struggling and suffering with, that you're still going to try to mend something, that you're going to try to fix something, you're going to try to create something, of whatever it may be and stuff like that. I mean, just as one kind of cautionary thing, is, taking revenge, depending, I mean, I'm not going to ever be any judgmental, and please always take my my suggestions with a grain of salt, because I'm no expert in this. I'm just a vampire, sad but true. Is that revenge is not always going to be benefiting. So if you're maybe hoping to actually, create some kind of like vengeful kind of plan or something, I would try to, maybe even, we'll rethink that as well, while you're just kind of in the process of healing, because I know it's like really wrong for humans, to just suddenly, just act so, like, how can I phrase this in modern language? Because I was almost going to use a archaic term, but a reckless way, to cause one to feel, like they've just suffered in some kind of heartbreak. Then, it's like, the first thing that people want to do is they want to fight back. They want to try to, get their, message as close to the person as possible. But I don't know. I just personally feel like it's always good to just do a lot of self-healing and do a lot of, just take excellent good care of yourself and try to avoid such people for the future and stuff like that. Because in the past, yes, you got the world, even though it is a fixed sign. Maybe you do have, like Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, or Scorpio placements in your star chart. But obviously, you pretty much were somebody on top of your game. You were pretty much out of this world and stuff like that. But I just feel like, it's like, yeah, you were pretty much, you probably had this like magnetic force about you where you pretty much just drew humans, maybe you're a celebrity, maybe you're in a stardom position, maybe just so many humans just admire you guys. I mean, personally, I have Cancer rising myself. I mean, but of course, the thing is that, yeah, the point is that, you were pretty much, had so many humans drawn towards you and stuff like that. But then it's like a moth to a light. You want to make sure, that when your light is shining, is that you want to make sure that you draw in the good kind of humans. But of course, you're always going to automatically, with no reason, always draw in like even the negative ones. And sometimes the negative ones can come across as being charming and loving and stuff like that, until they end up doing a lot of Three of Swords things, right? So, but I do see you in the future with Temperance. Maybe you have Sagittarius placements and stuff like that. But what I see you doing is you're doing a lot of healing, recovering, maybe mending. Maybe you're going to be actually, because, what the Temperance is all about is feeling serene, at peace, and balanced. So I feel like that despite this incident that took place, I mean, the point from the other person is, let's say that you broke this person's heart as well. It's like, it's always, it's like, no judgment ever coming from me, it's like, I don't know all, or practically any of my followers for that matter personally. So if you manage to maybe, cause this, type of heartbreak and stuff like that as well, it's like, I guess, it's like, everybody has a reason. So, but I just feel like that's, even, for, a heartbreak, it's, it's always going to be painful and stuff like that. And it's always, if you really want to try to avoid too many pains, towards somebody, is to try to ease it as quickly as possible and not just really immediately think, what, we're broken up and stuff like that. Because the thing is, yeah, there is that one beautiful saying, for every action, there's an equal and or opposing reaction. And what that includes, or, that's from, what's that man's name again? Newton's second law. I know, it's like, I was reading a lot of these books, while I was some recovery mode myself. But, it's like, if you do something, let's say that you really, are too brisk with this breakup, it could also end up badly with, for this person. But of course, no judgment ever coming from me, and I'm not doing it as a form of manipulation or any form of, negativity and stuff like that. But you want to always make sure that the other person is going to be okay as well, just because, you didn't really want to continue. But anyway, I'm just kind of throwing that little tiny thing out there. Because, it's like, it more or less just makes me think about the vampire that did a lot of damage with me and stuff. Because Oracle says compassion, empathy, simpatico, and kindness. So I feel like that, in the future, there's going to be so much sympathy. Maybe you were indeed a very sympathetic person. Maybe you're the one that got your heart broken, but it actually resulted in you being incredibly sympathetic. And those are one of the most beautiful humans out in this world, despite the pains and sufferings that you may have struggled or have suffered with in the past. Sometimes it could actually equal that the person is just going to be a vengeful person in their current and future life, but it could also turn that person into one of the most loving and caring individuals. And that's kind of what I'm getting from you. Because, of course, you're Cancer, you're loving, you're caring, you're supportive and nurturing and healing. So I feel like that maybe, if you had your heart broken, that you are still one of the most loving and supportive individuals despite that incident. Fabulous. Because Favole wants to continue with Lovers. My goodness, you could end up with maybe a Gemini, maybe you have Gemini placement, but it just shows that you're a very loving and caring individual. Because the thing is, it's like a lot of humans, I've come across thousands of humans. So trust me, I've come across quite a lot of humans in my time. But the point what I just want to say is that I just see so much love waiting for you, even if you've had your heart broken and stuff like that. And I do see a lot, because the thing is what even draws a lot of humans is first trust, the sense of stability. But it's also coming across as being very compassionate, very empathetic, showing kindness, even holding the door open for people, or even wishing them a good morning or a good evening, or what have you, just showing any type of kindness. It just even draws in so many people because, a lot of humans, they could be struggling and suffering in their own way, and just that tiny little spark of kindness, even holding the door open for somebody, or even saying, or, and just wishing them a wonderful, beautiful day probably is just a major turnaround that suddenly went from this real dark moment to suddenly this tiny little spark of light. Love it. Because Le Tarot Interdit Vampirium wants to continue with Lovers. La Amoureux from Amore. So, but anyway, I do see lovers in your future as well. Because here's the thing is, you'll have probably many options and opportunities even in the future. So, it's like, the fact is that you come across as being very loving, caring, and just so empathetic towards people, because there's so many humans out in this world that could be really struggling and suffering, and just that tiny little bit of kindness will just suddenly just brighten somebody's day. Even smiling at somebody, even, of course, with me with my canines, I don't want to smile too often, but, just a tiny little gesture that suddenly just thinks, wow, or even, it's like I came across this video that the human showed me. I thought, man, it's kind of a bit on the dangerous side, but that these strangers, they would just walk by each other, and then they would just start shoving these tiny paper notes into, just random people's hands, which is always a very dangerous thing. You don't know what's, why somebody did that, but then they suddenly open up this message and say, you are beautiful, you are perfect, don't ever feel like you need to change. And then, these people, they look around and they're like, wait, who was that? What was that? And then they suddenly just think, oh my goodness, I didn't blah, blah, blah. They get those tiny little messages, and to see their smiles just open up, you just think, wow, just brighten somebody's day, right? But I do see options and opportunities in the end heading towards you as well. So, I love that. Sad but true, I'm going to have to leave it at this for my beautiful Cancers, Cancer placements out in this world. But if this reading resonated for anybody out there, please feel free to join and subscribe to my channel for more vampire, tarot, knowledge, stuff like that. Because next week, I'm going to be doing the Macabre Tarot. And I'm going to be helping you guys overcome any form of nightmares or uncertainties or anxieties and stuff like that. So please feel free to stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I love you guys incredibly. And as per usual, take excellent good care of yourselves.